Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. It was almost midnight. The dim light of the bedside lamp cast a soft glow across the bedroom walls, barely reaching the white sheer curtains swaying gently from the cool night breeze. Elena, a graceful Russian woman with icy blue eyes and a quiet charm, lay on her side of the bed, facing away from her husband, Mark. The tension between them was subtle but thick, hanging in the air like a question neither of them wanted to ask. She had said it earlier, "I'm not in the mood." It wasn't the first time those words had passed between them, but tonight, something felt different. Mark, a kind-hearted but emotionally complex man, sat at the edge of the bed, trying to read her silence. He knew her moods well, could sense when she was truly tired or when there was something deeper hiding beneath her words. Their marriage had always been more than just routine. It was built on quiet moments, shared glances, and knowing each other's heartbeats. But lately, life had gotten in the way. Work stress, late nights, missed conversations, and somewhere in that chaos, the warmth between them had started to cool. But not tonight. Mark wasn't ready to let that quiet distance grow deeper. He turned toward her, not with expectation, but with intention. The way he gently touched her shoulder, the way he whispered her name, not just as her husband, but as her lover, her partner, her best friend, it wasn't just about romance. It was about reaching the woman he fell in love with, and reminding her of the fire that still lived quietly between them. Elena didn't move at first. But his touch, his presence, his calm patience, it chipped away at whatever wall she had put up that evening. Memories began flooding back to her, of the nights they danced barefoot in the kitchen, of his warm laugh in the middle of a storm, of how he held her after her father passed, saying nothing, just holding her tightly. She hadn't forgotten those things, she had just buried them beneath fatigue and routine. And now, here he was, not demanding love, but offering it, in the most sincere and unspoken way. The bedroom, though silent, now felt different. Not tense, but electric. She finally turned to face him, and their eyes met, not just as husband and wife, but as two souls who had seen both passion and pain, and still chose each other, again and again. What happened next wasn't rushed, and it wasn't loud. It was something only they could understand, quiet, beautiful, and deeply human. But just as the mood shifted, just when her fingers reached for his, a sudden sound outside the window made her pause. She froze. He noticed. Something, or someone, was out there. Watching? Listening? What do you think was outside the window? A forgotten memory returning? A surprise twist? Or just the wind reminding them that even quiet nights have secrets? Comment below what you think happened next, and if you've ever had a moment like this in your own relationship. Would you have turned around like Elena did? Or stayed still in silence? Elena's fingers paused midair, hovering just above Mark's hand. That sound, a faint rustle, maybe leaves, maybe something more, had broken the stillness like a soft whisper. She glanced toward the window, her heart racing slightly though she didn't know why. Mark noticed the sudden shift in her eyes. "Did you hear that?" she asked, barely above a whisper. He nodded, his expression calm but alert, like he didn't want to add to her unease. Outside, the street was quiet, the soft hum of the night wrapping their home like a blanket, but still, something didn't feel quite right. He got up, walked to the window slowly, and pulled the curtain aside just enough to look out. The wind stirred the trees gently, casting long shadows across the lawn. No movement. No sign of anything unusual. Still, he stayed there for a few moments longer, watching. Elena, meanwhile, sat up in bed, wrapping the blanket around her shoulders. Her mind wandered, replaying the last few weeks. The emotional distance. The nights they slept without speaking. She had blamed the stress, the endless deadlines, the growing list of things unsaid. But deep down, she had feared something else, that maybe they were slowly becoming strangers. Mark turned back to her, gave a soft smile, and returned to the bed. "Nothing out there," he said. But even his voice had a careful weight to it now, like he wasn't entirely sure. He rested his hand near hers again, not quite touching, just offering. Elena looked down at their hands, so close, and yet still apart. It reminded her of the emotional gap she'd felt lately, not because of a lack of love, but because of the silence between them that neither had dared to fill. She finally asked, "Do you think we're drifting apart?" The question hung in the air, raw and real. Mark looked at her for a long time, his eyes soft. "No," he said quietly. "I think we've just been lost in the noise. But I'm still here, Elena. I've always been here." Outside, the wind picked up slightly, brushing the window with a subtle breath. Inside, the room was filled with emotion, quiet, deep, and unresolved. Their story wasn't broken, but it wasn't mended either. Not yet. What do you think Elena should do next? Should she trust the stillness, or follow her instinct? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice could shape the next part of this journey. Elena leaned back against the headboard, her eyes tracing Mark's face as he walked back from the window and sat beside her again. The silence between them wasn't uncomfortable, not exactly, but it held weight. The kind that carried memories and unspoken fears. She watched him, trying to remember the last time they had really looked at each other without words getting in the way. Without the clock ticking, without emails waiting, without unresolved emotions sitting heavy on their hearts. Mark reached out slowly, brushing her hand with his fingertips, almost like asking for permission to be close again. She didn't pull away, but she didn't lean in either. He noticed, but he didn't force it. "I miss us," he said simply. His voice was honest, not dramatic. Just a truth that had lived quietly between them for too long. She looked down, feeling a twist in her chest, not from anger, but from guilt. She had missed them too. But she hadn't known how to say it without sounding weak, or needy, or like she couldn't handle everything that had been building up inside her. The wind pressed a little harder against the window, as if echoing the tension in the room. Elena finally spoke. "Do you ever feel like we're just playing our parts? Husband. Wife. Smiling. Sleeping. Pretending everything's fine?" Mark didn't answer right away. He took a breath and leaned back, his eyes fixed on the ceiling. "Sometimes. But I don't think we're pretending. I think we just forgot how to reach for each other." That line struck something in her. Forgotten how to reach. Yes, that's what it was. Not lost love, not a broken marriage. Just a memory of something beautiful that had gotten buried under layers of routine. But there was something else too. Something she hadn't told him. A secret she had been keeping for weeks. Not because she wanted to lie, but because she didn't want to cause more distance. A decision she had made quietly, late one night while he was asleep, that might change everything. Her throat tightened, but she stayed quiet. "Not yet. Not tonight." Instead, she whispered, "You remember our first night in this room? The rain, the candles, that silly radio playing love songs in Russian?" Mark smiled faintly, eyes softening. "You were barefoot. I couldn't stop looking at you." That moment pulled a thin thread between them again, a reminder of intimacy that once came so naturally. But the secret still hung in her heart, pulling her away even as his presence tried to draw her in. And just as the air between them started to shift again, there was another sound outside, louder this time. Not wind. Not leaves. A sharp knock. At the back door. They both froze. What would you do if you were in their place? Would you check the door, or stay close and ignore it? Who or what do you think is behind that sudden knock at midnight? Share your thoughts in the comments, your theories might just shape the next twist. The knock came again. Louder. 3 sharp raps that didn't sound like someone lost or polite, it sounded urgent. Elena's heart pounded. She looked at Mark, and he was already standing. His body was tense, jaw tight. "Stay here," he said under his breath, but she reached out and grabbed his wrist. "Wait. What if it's..." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't know how to. Her thoughts raced with possibilities. A neighbor? A stranger? Someone from her past? Mark stepped into his slippers and moved toward the hallway, the floor creaking beneath his weight. The house, usually quiet and comforting at this hour, suddenly felt too open, too vulnerable. Elena stayed in bed for a few seconds before her worry got the better of her. She wrapped her blanket around herself and followed, barefoot, the air cool against her skin. When she reached the corner of the hallway, Mark was at the back door, peering through the side window. His hand hovered over the handle. "Who is it?" she asked, her voice tight. He didn't respond right away. He turned slightly. "There's someone standing just outside the porch light. Can't see their face." Elena's stomach turned. She had hoped it was nothing. Just the wind, or a passing animal, or maybe a delivery mistake. But this was different. She stepped closer, heart racing now. "Don't open it," she whispered, instinct kicking in. "Not yet." Mark hesitated, then nodded. Whoever it was, they weren't saying anything. Just standing there. Still. Silent. Waiting. Elena suddenly remembered something, a conversation she had with someone 2 months ago. A phone call. A voice from back home in Russia. A man from her past, someone she never expected to hear from again. He had asked questions about her life in the States. Too many questions. She never told Mark. She thought it didn't matter. But now, with someone outside their door in the middle of the night, that decision felt like a shadow standing between them. Mark turned back to the door. "I'm going to say something. Maybe they'll respond." He placed his hand on the glass and called out, "Hello? Who's there?" No answer. Just silence. Then, a slow, deliberate knock. 1, 2, 3. What would you do now? Would you open the door, or call for help? Could this be tied to Elena's hidden past, or is it something new waiting to unfold? Tell us your theories in the comments. What do you think is going to happen next? The silence after the knock was unbearable. Mark's hand hovered over the door handle, frozen between instinct and fear. Elena stepped closer, her fingers tightening around the blanket wrapped around her. Her breath caught in her throat. She wanted to speak, to tell him to stop, to say something, anything, but the weight of the unknown pressed too heavily on her chest. The porch light flickered slightly, as if the electricity itself was uncertain of what was coming next. Suddenly, a voice cut through the silence. Not loud. Not harsh. Just familiar. Elena. Her name. Spoken low. Not shouted. But enough to freeze her in place. Her body went cold. That voice, it couldn't be. It wasn't possible. She hadn't heard it in years. Mark turned sharply toward her, eyes scanning her face. "You know them?" he asked, stunned. But Elena couldn't answer. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Mark opened the door, not fully, just a crack, just enough for the porch light to fall on the figure outside. A man. Late 30s. Dressed in a dark jacket, snow in his hair, his face tired but strangely calm. His eyes locked with Elena's instantly. "Elena," he said again, this time with a strange tenderness. "I'm sorry for showing up like this, but I had no choice." Mark stepped in front of her instinctively. "Who are you?" he demanded. The man didn't answer him. His eyes stayed on Elena, like Mark didn't even exist. I told you to never contact me again, Elena finally said, her voice shaking. Mark looked at her, stunned. Wait, what is this? The man stepped forward, still not aggressive, but urgent. There's something you need to know. Something about what happened before you left Moscow. They didn't just let you go, Elena. They followed you. I only found out recently, and I came to warn you. You're not safe. He's coming. The words hit like a storm. Elena's knees weakened. She held on to the wall for balance. Mark's voice rose. What the hell is going on? But Elena was staring at the man, Dima. A name she thought she had left behind. A past she had buried when she built this quiet life with Mark. And now it was all coming back. The nights she cried silently. The hidden documents. The one mistake that had followed her like a shadow. Mark turned to her. Elena, talk to me. What is he saying? What aren't you telling me? She looked between them, her past and her present standing in the same hallway. Her world was splitting at the seams. And outside, the wind howled. What would you do in Elena's place? Would you confess everything? Or protect your peace at all costs? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for what happens when secrets finally surface. Elena stared at Dima like she was seeing a ghost, a part of her life she had promised never to revisit. The cold air from the open door swept through the hallway, but it wasn't what made her shiver. Mark, still between them, looked at her with eyes full of confusion and betrayal. Tell me what's going on, he said, his voice low but urgent. She swallowed hard. Before I met you, before I left Russia, I was involved with someone. Dima. It wasn't just a relationship. It was dangerous. He was part of something bigger. Something I never wanted to be pulled into. When I left, I thought I was done with it forever. Dima stepped forward. You were never supposed to leave. But I helped you because I loved you. Now the same people who hunted me are looking for you. I came to protect you, even if it's the last thing I do. Mark turned to her, eyes wide. Is this true? Are we in danger? Elena nodded slowly, tears forming. I never wanted this to touch you. I built this life to escape it. I didn't know they were still watching. Suddenly, headlights appeared outside. A black SUV rolled to a slow stop down the street. Dima's expression changed immediately. They found me. I led them here by mistake. We have to leave. Now. Mark didn't wait. Elena, get your things. 5 minutes. As she ran toward the bedroom, Dima grabbed Mark's arm. I know you hate me, but right now, you need to trust me. I know how they operate. Mark hesitated, then nodded once. Elena returned with a small bag, her hands shaking. Before they could move, a knock came again, this time, not at the back door, but the front. Dima's eyes narrowed. They've surrounded the house. But when Mark cautiously opened the front door, it wasn't who they expected. It was a woman. Mid-40s. Confident. Alone. She smiled gently. Elena Ivanova? Elena stepped forward. Yes, the woman held up a badge. CIA. We've been monitoring this situation for a while. You're not in danger anymore. But we need you both to come with us. There's more you need to know. More? Elena's heart dropped again. Was this over, or just the beginning? What do you think the CIA really wants with Elena? Share your twist predictions in the comments. Elena looked into the woman's eyes, trying to make sense of everything. Why the CIA? She asked, her voice barely steady. The agent stepped inside calmly. Because you're more important than you realize. The people following you weren't after Dima, they were after the information he left with you. Information you didn't even know you had. Mark moved closer to Elena, instinctively protective. What information? Dima stepped forward, finally breaking his silence. The USB drive. The one I hid inside that music box I gave you in Moscow. The one you packed when you left. Elena gasped. The old music box still sat untouched on her bookshelf in their bedroom, a piece of her past she never thought mattered. The CIA agent nodded. That drive has files exposing an underground financial network linked to political corruption and illegal arms. You were just the safest one to carry it, because you disappeared so well. Elena felt the weight of it all crash over her. All this time, the normal life she had built with Mark was resting on a secret she never knew she had. She glanced at Mark, worried she'd see anger or fear in his eyes, but instead, there was just calm. Understanding. They handed the music box over, and within minutes, more agents arrived. The SUV down the street was theirs. Dima, too, was taken into protective custody. Before he left, he turned to Elena one last time. I never stopped caring. But I see now, you have what I could never give you. With Dima gone, the danger dissolved like smoke in the air. Elena and Mark stood in the quiet house, finally alone again. The wind outside had settled, and for the first time that night, the silence felt safe. Later, wrapped in a warm blanket on their living room couch, Mark leaned his head against hers. No more secrets, he asked gently. Elena smiled, tired but relieved. No more secrets. They didn't speak after that. They didn't need to. The truth was out, the danger past, and all that remained was love, tested, shaken, but still standing strong. What do you think of Elena and Mark's journey? Should there be a sequel exploring what happens next? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this romantic suspense story.